Now, if you've not heard what he said, maybe not, Bill Polian, who was the mastermind of Buffalo Bills teams back in a different era that were good enough to get to the Super Bowl year after year after year after year and just bad enough not to win. So Bill Polian said that he is concerned that Joe Burrow will turn into the next Andrew Luck because of that ragtag offensive line. Bunch of flotsam and jetsam on that offensive line. Polian telling Adam Schefter on his fledgling podcast that he thinks the front office and the people in charge with the Bengals will fix the offensive line, but he certainly tossed it out, implying that Joe Burrow will be so beaten up and tossed through the meat grinder that he'll have to follow in the footsteps of the former Colts quarterback and retire from the NFL at a much earlier age than if he had someone else on the offensive line. So let us discuss. The question, are you in or are you out on Joe Burrow on track to become the next Andrew Luck? So I am out on this. I am not in. I am out on this. I've got Scott Bakula, Comic-Con, and Russian roulette. And we will combine all of these things together, and we'll see what we get here. We're going to make the Baba Ganoush is what we're going to do. All right, so to kick off the festivities, I'm giving this one side-eye, right, that Joe Burrow is on the Titanic, and he's doomed. He's going to hit the iceberg. I don't buy that. I'll be Benny Brightside on this one. Remember, a week ago, Joe Burrow was being compared by football people to Tom Brady. He was. I have proof. We talked about it. Joe Burrow was being compared to Tom Brady. Madison Avenue was said to be slobbering, slobber, all over the idea of endorsements for Burrow. And he was going to become America's pitchman. It was going to be raining down a monsoon of insurance commercials and car commercials, crypto, you name it. A diversified portfolio for Joe Burrow. And then the music stopped. And because Joe Burrow could not get it done, had the lead fourth quarter against Matthew Stafford. Stafford was better. Matthew Stafford was better in the fourth quarter. And really throughout the game, when you look at the touchdowns, the interceptions that Stafford threw, one was just essentially a punt. The other one was off the receiver's hands, which should have been caught. So he was a better quarterback in the Super Bowl, and now everyone's done a 180 on the future of Joe Burrow. So in the span of a week, he was Tom Brady, and then he lost a football game. He did not play well. He did not show himself very well in the Super Bowl, and now it's holy Scott Bakula. Now, Burrow has now taken a quantum leap, and his career will now be shortened. He is now in Andrew Luck territory. That is a head-spinning juxtaposition from where we were a week ago. Now, furthermore, Andrew Luck's situation is unique. It is unique to Andrew Luck. Now, when it comes to headline players, if you look at the upper crust of players in these professional sports that we follow, every decade or so, things line up, the planets line up, and there's that one guy who prematurely exits stage right that could keep playing but doesn't keep playing, whether it's they claim injuries or whatnot. We've had, unfortunately for the good people of Michigan, we had several of them, or two of them at least, with the Lions. We had Barry Sanders, who was a 10-year guy. He could have played another 5-6 years. He checked out. Said, I can't play anymore. And then you had Megatron. And then after Megatron, there were some other players. I'm talking about headline offensive players. And then you had Andrew Luck. In the case of Luck, though, it was the perfect tsunami of events. Andrew came from a wealthy family. His dad was a professional football player. He didn't really ever love football. It was the family business for Andrew Luck. He happened to be good at it. His dad was a good quarterback, so you play quarterback. And not that he didn't hate it, but it wasn't his life's mission to be a quarterback. If it was his life's mission, he wouldn't have quit. But Andrew Luck had a lot of money. He got paid very well from the Colts. he's also a big dork. I'm not knocking him. He's a nerd. And as a nerd, those are his hobbies. That's where his focus was. He's a unique guy. He's very unique. And football was not his passion. Being a big regular at Comic-Con is as big a deal as the Super Bowl. Like showing up to Comic-Con. I'm at Comic-Con. It's like the Super Bowl for the nerds. Now, Joe Burrow is more of your traditional NFL quarterback. Now, he does come from a football family. His dad was in the CFL and whatnot, but they weren't uber wealthy. More regular background, not poor, but not super wealthy. Your standard meathead qualities does not come from, as we said, the immense wealth. But from what we've been hearing about Joe Burrow, he's not a bookworm. He's not like that. He's been tagged as a guy that has the stardust. And when you have the stardust, you want to use the stardust. You want to make sure you have no stardust left before you're done. So you sign your name in to the book of legends. And you don't do that by quitting with a bunch of stardust left in the tank, cutting your time short. And it's like the old line, you fall down 7 times, stand up 8. And Joe Burrow has actually been sacked more than Andrew Luck if you look at their early part of their careers side by side. All right, last thing here. So the Bengals quarterback, who again went from in a week, he went from Andrew Luck to he went from Tom Brady 2.0 to Andrew Luck 2.0. Okay, so Joe Burrow, he's already written his book, his name in the record book, not the book of legends, but the record book. He's the first quarterback to lead the NFL in times being sacked and make the Super Bowl. That never happened before. It was a Looney Tunes kind of a season. Joe Burrow, like the Wile E. Coyote, after every snap, realizing he was about to fall off the cliff yet again. And so we have established the Bengals offensive line is bad to the bone. So now it's the offseason. It's the player transaction season. So how do you address it? DIY. Do it yourself. You slap some paint on it. You rearrange things. It is a manageable situation. Cincinnati has 8 draft picks. They have all of their draft picks, and they have an extra pick, that late round pick that came from the Giants. So they will draft several linemen early in the draft. They will add a few more veteran free agents. And just because your offensive line was Russian roulette in 2021 does not mean that there will be a bunch of suck bags in 2022. These things are cyclical. I know I'm crossing the sports here, but bear with me. It's kind of like when you have a bad bullpen in one season, and then you make a couple of minor changes, and all of a sudden the bullpen's great the next year. I look at offensive linemen like relief pitchers. That year to year, it's all about working together with the people around you and the synergy, if you will. It's like a ballet, and everyone has to know their movements, their foot movements, and all that on the offensive line. But in baseball, guys can be the arson squad one year and then be lights out the next. We see it all the time. We see offensive linemen change teams, guys that were terrible. Remember the Rams a couple years ago, just as an example, they had, I think it was the 30th ranked offensive line in football. They made a couple of minor changes, drafted somebody we never heard of in the middle rounds, and then they turned out to be a top 5 offensive line the following season. So the moral of the story is very simple. Don't fall into the gambler's fallacy. Do not fall into the gambler's fallacy. The erroneous thinking that a certain event is more or less likely given a previous series of events. Plus, there are some tweaks to the offense that you can make to help out the offensive line, right? We pointed this out from time to time. People always get upset, the people that love quarterbacks and hate the fat guys on the offensive line. But sacks are often more about the quarterback than the offensive line. And Joe Burrow has been pretty good about getting rid of the ball, but you have to be willing to throw incompletions for it to really work. That you're better off with an incomplete pass than throwing or taking a sack rather than throwing the pass. But when nobody is open, you should chuck it and hit the bench. That would be the move. All right, that would be the way to go on this. All right, it is the Ben Maller Show as we press on. Now, in a previous hour, we mentioned this story. We'll get back to it right now. The Fourth quarter, it's getting late. This is Charles Barkley. Sir Charles was upset. TNT had the NBA card. What a great card it was. Good effort by the Sixers against the Celtics. Way to go out there and play, guys.
Garbage.
Yeah. So I watched. I always want to see halftime with Barkley and Kenny Smith and Ernie Johnson, and they weren't there. Shaq was there, but the other guys weren't there. But Charles Barkley did an interview recently, and he said, listen, he's 59 years old. He says he has 2 years left on his contract with Turner, and he said, quote, "That's probably going to be it for me," Barkley said. Now, probably is a weasel word from Charles. But he said, probably going to be it.
You little weasel.
He said it's been great, blah, 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 blah. He says he loves Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, all those guys, and everyone they work with. But here's the money quote from Charles Barkley. He says, "I just don't feel the need to work until the day I die." He says he doesn't. He says, "I'll be 61 years old," Barkley said, "when that happens, and I'll finish out my contract, and I don't want to die on television," he said. In classic Barkley fashion, he says, "I don't want to die." He said, "I want to die on a golf course or somewhere fishing." He would like to, he said, "I don't want to be sitting inside over my fat ass shack waiting to drop dead," he said. Close quote. All right, so real quick, the question on this one, do we believe or not believe Charles Barkley? He says 2 years from now he's done. All right, I don't believe it. I'm a non-believer. I'm agnostic on this. Because Charles Barkley has done this dance of romance with retirement multiple times. Years back, he was talking about running to be, I think it was the governor of Alabama. If I remember, that was one of his Michigas things. And every time we get close, Barkley has always decided, I'll do another contract. So part B of this, what I think is going to happen here with Barkley, looking into my crystal ball, as a distant relative of the great Nostradamus and friend of Nostradamus, is that what Barkley will do is he will cut back on the amount of gigs that he does, where Barkley will be used for only special signature events. Like he'll do an occasional appearance on Turner, but then he'll pop up at the All-Star Weekend because that's a big jewel event for the NBA and for the playoffs. So you're not going to see him on a run-of-the-mill Tuesday night when the Memphis Grizzlies are playing the Minnesota Timberwolves on Turner. But that is my assumption, that ultimately Barkley loves the fact he is the most beloved sportscaster in America. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I mean, he's great. Everyone in every other sport wants to find Charles Barkley. He's the unicorn Barkley. And so I think he's going to continue this. And, of course, we don't know the health. If the health is all messed up, if the doctor says something's wrong, then it's something. Then we've got a different situation. But that is the dealio on Sir Charles